So Ash, lockdown 2.0. What we saying? What are your thoughts?
Um, I think it felt inevitable. Everyone was
Yep.
always talking about it, and yeah, it just is what it is. Try not to get too emotionally invested in it and too upset by it. I think one of the themes we're going to talk about today is controlling the controllables. It's out of your hands. It's just, the government's doing whatever it's doing for whatever reason it's doing it for, and we've just got to deal with the consequences. I think on a personal level, it's sad that the gyms are closing because that's obviously something that we love to do, and it's a nice part of my day to go and see friends and colleagues while training in the warm. But yeah, worse things have happened to people, so I think we'll find a way to cope. What are you thinking?
It's same thing as what you said there. It's a shame. I think that's the biggest thing. The fact that we was in a bit of a flow, it was inevitable. You knew that something more, especially when you went to the tier system and so forth. But it was gonna come. So I wasn't surprised, which was quite nice. And the positive of what we've just been dealt is the fact we've been said, right, you've got 4 weeks. Most people can deal with that. Like the first time round, we was locked up essentially indefinitely until they was like, okay, we don't know what's going on. And then they obviously had the first release that you could go outside for more than an hour, or all those little bit extras. And then everyone got content with the next step and next step. And I think it's, as even with the government, you can't really blame them, because at the end of the day, everyone's doing a shit show of a job at the moment. Everyone's just trying to work out what to do. So I think from a personal side, with like, I wouldn't say selfish, because obviously wanting the gyms and stuff to stay open, because obviously we're both in that industry, so it benefits us and our business, because obviously there are plenty of industries that are taking an absolute battering at the moment. But I do think that, the side of just seeing people, coming into WIT a couple of times a week, just to get the environment, boost your own training, but also boost that well-being and that sense of community that, things like WIT and other CrossFit boxing stuff do. They give you that community. So and that's a shame. It's a bit of a hard one, but we live, we learn, and we adapt, don't we? So we overcome the problem in front of us. So for myself, personally, my training isn't going to change too much. Obviously, I'm cycling a lot, which we're allowed to do anyway, so I can go out for cycles and that. And business-wise, I'm still going to be PTing in person, but be doing it outside, taking some of my gym flooring, putting it outside, and delivering sessions like that. So that's going to be how I'm going to have to navigate this period of time. But at the end of the day, as you say, we've got to deal with what's in front of us. So it's going to be a challenging 4 weeks, but a good 4 weeks if you frame it in the right way. And that's kind of something obviously that we want to touch on today, because I think one of the most important things that come out from the first one is, because it was so long, we struggled. I definitely struggled to establish any sort of routine, especially at the start, as when we've touched on it before, boozing every day. I was doing loads of garden work and stuff. I was doing and eating a lot, putting myself into a bit of a negative spiral, which then obviously affects your well-being and so forth there. But then on the flip side of that, I then obviously I created a routine for 4 weeks, which made me feel absolutely amazing. Yeah. So, I know that's kind of where I'm navigating towards now myself, maybe with a couple more loose targets, but establishing that routine and having some consistency in my daily practice is going to be massively key. And that's something which I know you're Mr. Consistency. So I think it'd be good for you to maybe, have you got any tips that you want to give to our listeners to maybe how they can navigate this 4 weeks and really help ensure that they can get some healthy habits on track and really navigate this well?
Yeah, I think that's a great point on the routine and consistency. I think, well, everyone's different, but one of the things that put people in a bit of a spin about lockdown last time round was that their normal daily routine was so disrupted, and they're spending so much time in the same environment, being their home. So to try and get some texture to the day, having routine is so important, in that you have clear defined phases for I'm eating at these times, I'm working at these times, I'm training at these times, and I'm relaxing at these times. And I think that at the very least gives your day a bit of meaning, because you're like, right, it's 9 a.m. This is when I start doing my emails or whatever it might be. And you don't have that sense of feeling a bit lost and feeling a bit meaningless in where the day is going. And that's just something for me, especially around meal timings. You know that that's what you're doing now. And in terms, if you've got a nutritional strategy or a body composition goal, having consistent meal timings makes it a lot easier to stay on plan, because if you're eating at the right times, then your body gets used to it and your appetite's much more under control than if you're eating quite periodically and just randomly. That's when you're tempted to get your hand in the cookie jar, so to speak.
When it comes to that, that's where the routine side of things for me was the biggest takeaway that I took from the first lockdown, where, as I said at the start there, being a bit YOLO with all my habits and everything, or just doing what I wanted. And I was having a lot of output with the gardening and that. I was doing a lot, and it was hot, so that made me want to drink as well. So there was a lot of those things. So drinking a lot more like lager and stuff. But now I see it's a bit colder, so the Guinnesses are feeling good. And so, but I've taken this as the opportunity. So especially for when this comes out on Monday, that you can essentially, if you can think, I've got a nice 4 weeks here to maybe focus on one particular goal. So that kind of leads us on to the next point, where a lot of our podcasts have been geared towards discussing health, performance, and aesthetics. So that's the continuum that we talk about. And what we want to do today is kind of maybe dive into those three areas and think about how we can kind of create some goals for those areas to help us stay on track through this 4 weeks. Now, as you'll see online, especially if you follow any fitness professionals, every single fitness professional's back doing their workouts and so forth, which is great. So there's plenty of options out there. But like we mentioned in the first few episodes, I think it was episode 3 and 4. So it's definitely worth having a little listen to those again, where we discuss about maybe the importance of not just jumping around to many different people's programs, kind of following one person's, making sure you're doing training that assists your goal rather than just random just nonsense. Basically, you don't need to run 5k a day, you don't need to do every single hit workout maybe, but if you want to improve your running, then maybe have 4 weeks off focusing on running. So let's maybe, since I'm talking about performance, let's start with performance. So what would maybe be some of the things that our listeners want to think about when it comes to goal setting for their performance goals over this next 4 weeks?
Sure. I think over lockdown, the key consideration is what's realistic and achievable. When you're training from home, you've obviously got a lot less access to equipment and facilities. You might be affected by the weather. So if you've got a running goal and you don't like running in the rain or you don't like running in the cold, be realistic about the fact that you might not want to do a running program if it's all outside. And if you've only got 2 5-kilo dumbbells, it might be hard to have a strength-based goal. So rather than getting frustrated about the fact that you can't continue your 1 rep max deadlift program that you were doing in the gym, just work with what you've got available and try to just accept the fact that these times are unusual and you've just got to do the best with what you've got available. There's plenty of other things you can work on, whether it's body weight movement goals or it's time to work on developing your planche or something like that. Like all these, if you want to learn to juggle, get the skills going, I think just get a little bit creative and see it as an opportunity to work on something you might not otherwise have done, and set yourself a realistic goal working with the constraints that you've got. I think that's number one for the lockdown.
I think that's really nice there that you said as well, the realistic part, because I remember at the start of the last lockdown, the amount I think, I can use this time to do this, and it just becomes overwhelming. You don't do any of them.
Yeah.
So, and as this is the positive from this lockdown. We've been given 4 weeks initially. Yes, it might extend or it might come off and then go back into the new year, but who knows? But we can deal with the next 4 weeks ahead of us, and we can say, right, for this next 4 weeks, my focus is X. So especially with performance, so you can say, if you don't mind running in the cold, the potential wet and the dark, then you say, right, over the next 4 weeks, I'm going to be running, say, 3 to 4 times a week, say, following a running program. We've had Brad on before. He has his Run Strong program where, you know, with Twice the Health or Twice the Health, and they got a great program. So if you're looking for a specific running program, you've got Emma from WIT who also does a lot of running drills as well, which is great. So there's plenty of running things. So if you haven't got any equipment and you don't mind getting outside, then follow a structured program. Don't just run 5K every day. Now, when it comes to, like, as Ash mentioned there, about if you was working on a strength goal and you only have, say, 2 5-kilo dumbbells at home, yeah, it might be time to start focusing on some body weight. But think about then, not necessarily just, I'm going to now just do, say squats and lunges and stuff like that. Start to now think about, cool, what accessories for my body weight can I start to do that are going to help my, say, main lift? So as you just mentioned there about, you know, maybe learning the planche or working on some midline control. So building up your strength in your core. So when you do go back and you start to add a bit more dynamicness to that core work that you've been doing on, you can start to hopefully see a carryover rather than just, you know, moaning, oh, I can't now lift a barbell. Well, you get back to it. And I personally proved with my own self that I hadn't snatched or done anything like that in God knows how long, and managed to get 10 kilos off my all-time PB and bar muscle-ups, handstand walks, you know, and I haven't done those since before lockdown. Yeah. So it just shows that, you know, you don't just forget. You might become rusty, but you don't forget. So don't stress too much, especially now because as we keep mentioning, like we've been given 4 weeks, so don't over stress what essentially could be coming up. So I think something which goes kind of hand in hand here as well is with health and aesthetics, because I think they can both work quite nicely over this next 4 weeks. And I think if we just touch on aesthetics first, because I think for someone like myself, I'm using this 4 weeks. I've given myself a little weight loss target because I want to try and improve my watts per kilo on the road bike. So I want to try and lose 3 kilos over the 4 weeks, which shouldn't be a problem because I just got to clean up my diet, which is not actually too bad at the moment. But so that's then my goal. So what I've given myself a number to start working towards. So I've been specific with it. And that's the important part. If you just say, oh, I want to lose X amount of weight, just like any goal setting in general, being specific with what you want to achieve makes it a lot more achievable, because then you can. So with my goal, I've said, right, I've got 3 kilos to lose over 4 weeks. What do I need to do to achieve that? How much training do I need to do? And so forth. So what I can start to do is manage that along the journey of the next 4 weeks and make sure that that's going to then maybe put some restrictions on how much I drink or how much I eat. So, you know, when you say about the meal timing, keeping consistent with the timing, I think that'd be massively beneficial for me. But do you have any aesthetic goals over this 4 weeks? Are you gonna just let yourself go a little bit?
Yeah, I'll let myself go, mate. Just winter bulk, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, I think the key point from what you're saying there is having it be measurable as another standard goal setting principle. It needs to be measurable not only in terms of the absolute like kilos lost, but having mini targets along the way. So obviously you can weigh yourself every week or every day just to see how you're tracking against your overall goal, and then make adjustments if you need to. I think from a health point of view, having daily practices which are measurable as well. So you could say, did I eat my meals at the right time today? Yes or no? And almost having like a tick on a calendar to encourage yourself and be accountable to stay on track.
Because we don't like really breaking helpful. Chains, do we? As a human, I'll say that when we say have a calendar, this is why it works really well. I normally do, hasn't always got to be on the first or whatever, so I normally have it on a whiteboard. But by putting an X on a day where something has gone right, you're inclined to make sure you stay on track because you don't want to break that chain. Exactly. Because what you'll find, as soon as you break the chain, you go, oh, fuck it. And then you'll notice it'll be a couple of days, and that's when it all goes to pot. So you're self-motivated to keep that consistency going.
Exactly. And it also, on days when it doesn't feel like it's going well, you can use that as comfort and reassurance that you are actually making progress. So if you're weighing yourself every day, one day your weight might go up, but you can look at the trend and say, actually, over time, I am still going down and moving towards my goal. It's also something that is objective. So if you are feeling a bit down one day because, it's lockdown and that's normal, then you can say, actually, look at this. Like if you're using photos instead of weight, compare today against day one. And even though it might not be much better than yesterday, still is a lot better than day one. Just something that's unarguable and measurable is important for any goal and tracking it along the way.
Yeah, and I think just to be clear, with like in reality, 4 weeks you're not going to make massive changes, but in a sense that's also a positive, because the fact you're not going to make massive changes means you might not fuck up too bad as well. You can always come back. That's a positive. So if you do well, because a lot of people and I know you'll find the same with clients as well, sometimes motivation lasts for a little bit, maybe like say two weeks, maybe push into 3 if you're lucky, and then it might fade off. But if you're giving yourself a 4-week target, you're going to stay on track. And normally when you're looking for any, say, aesthetic type of changes, they normally happen towards the 4 to 6 week mark anyway. So normally the first, say, week is, okay, you might have some drastic losses, say, on the scales, because they're like water loss and that side of things. But the actual physical changes that you can start to see normally come around that 4 to 6 week range. So giving yourself that 4-week initial target means you'll have a lot more motivation, as you said, that to stay involved and stay invested, because it's so easy. And when it comes to the mental well-being side of things, and as Ash alluded to there, where it's lockdown and it can be quite a miserable time for some, but it's how you look at this. So you have to try and take it and look at it as a glass half full approach, because if you take it as, okay, I'm miserable, I'm locked in, then you are going to be miserable and you are going to be locked in. But you could spin that and think, say, cool, okay, I get to now stay at home when it's cold outside, so I can now keep myself nice and warm. I can work from the comfort of my own home. I can train in the comfort, or I can go out for a run to get some fresh air. You can still go to the shops. You can still do the things you need to. So spinning it like that mentally helps you put you into a much better place. And mental health is obviously one of the biggest things they talk about when it comes to the gyms, and how closing the gyms is going to impact massively people's mental health. And of course it is, because more than just the actual physical training, it is the community side of things, and being able to see others, even if you're not allowed to be right up in their faces, which hopefully you're not normally anyway, unless you know them. But it's thing of having people around you, so it makes you feel like you're part of something. And when you're obviously excluded to your 4 walls, you feel excluded. And then looking on social media and you see all this other shit going down, it starts to add this spiral of just like reflection on yourself. Oh, I'm not doing this, they're doing that. So it can start to really impact your mental health. So keeping up with these, positive habits, as we said, that calendar, crossing off, using the 4 weeks as a time frame to achieve a goal. This is a perfect way to feel positive about the next 4 weeks. And that's what we just want to hammer home with this particular podcast is, don't see this necessarily as a negative. Yes, there's some bad shit going down around the world, and it's not ideal, but you can't control that. We touched on that at the start. You can only control the controllables, right? So what's going on to you, you can only control how you react to it. So if we can start to look at what's going on and say, okay, cool, I've been told to stay at home for a thing, but I can still go outside to exercise. So I can make sure I can set my house up now or my home for a perfect place to work. So I'm not just feeling really bad. And when I want to train, I'm going to make sure as Ash said, set time every day that I'm going to go out and do my training, make it a thing, establish that routine. And that's going to help you navigate this lockdown successfully. And I think I want to just say to everyone if you didn't learn from the last lockdown to get yourself some home equipment, then maybe use this as an opportunity to think, all right, whenever it comes back on in stock in places, because everyone's obviously all out of stock again, but places like Black Box, Wolverson, plenty of online fitness companies that can get you, it's worth investing in a couple of dumbbells, maybe a kettlebell and some bands for your home, because it's nice to be able to still have something that if the weather is really crappy outside, you don't want to go outside, you can still get a workout in at home, and you will feel accomplished. So at the end of the day, if this is now the second one, will there be another one? It's up for debate. I'm pretty sure we'll have another form of lockdown. Who knows if it be more stringent or not? Who knows? But we deal with that as it comes, so we can't control that. So try to think about what you can implement now to make sure that you can have a successful lockdown, so you don't come out of this one feeling shitty.
Amen.
So it was like we didn't want to class this as a little mini rant. We just wanted to try and give our 2 cents to try and help you navigate this lockdown as successfully as possible. And, if you need someone to talk to, drop us a message, we'll be happy to help you. And, also, if you know of anyone that's on their own, drop them a message, check in with them, but also don't forget to check in with yourself. This is a time where, it's so easy to just get bogged down with everything. So just, wake up before you look at anything online and anything like that. Check in with yourself, see how you're doing. Ask yourself, how am I today? And then ask your partner. If you don't have a partner, ask a friend. Give them a message. It really will probably make a big difference, because at the end of the day, people want to break down walls easily, and by just messaging someone else, that gives them the opportunity. They'll be like, yeah, I'm fine. But it's just that thing of knowing that someone's actually thinking about them will make a big, big difference. So also try not to watch the news too much. It becomes very depressing. But apart from that, short one today, guys. We just wanted to give our 2 cents, and hopefully you manage to get something away from it, establish a routine, and enjoy your next 4 weeks. So we'll see you next week, and find us on all the usual platforms.
Cheers, guys.